Deathscyp here from Y.C.G, your casual gamer. Alright, so let's keep going. So now that we have our particle smoke, dust, call it like you want, the wind is working. There was a few changes I needed to do since we managed to get the right direction with the acceleration. You can see that now it's a bit offset from the center, and we're going to fix that now. We're going to bring this, so the inertial velocity, I'll bring it back to 0, because before I was putting it back so that it would be working in the axis that it was. So now we have this, we can direction, and to get our blizzard going, let's put like a few of these inside the scene. So I'll drag a copy. I'm gonna have one in the foreground and another one in the middle. And just to make it interesting, we're gonna have the last one be a little bit more backward, but like in a downward angle, let's say. Put it up like this. So I was gonna make like this kind of like random effect. If I get inside the scene, now you can see that it's pretty nice. It's a bit intense, but I mean, this is always something you can tweak afterward. So we can go over here, we can easily play with this, the spawn and put it to 6 instead, or any of the given module we've played with so far. So now we have to get the flaky inside. So like the little snow, because right now I couldn't sell this effect because there's no snow happening. So we got to put it in. So let's, how would we proceed with that? Easy enough. Again, inside the starter content, there's a great example for that. If you go inside the starter content and you go for the particle, you're going to see we have the spark over here. And when you look at it easily, you can see two things. They look a little bit flaky, the piece they're using. And what are they using as a material? I think it's the M radial gradient, which I use for almost all my particle system. So this is interesting. So it's using GPU sprites, which is a way to go about it, but I'm going to show you the difference between the two. So when you drag it inside the scene, you're going to notice that there's something else that's pretty cool in this effect. You can see that the particles, they bounce off the floor when they hit the collision. So we're going to learn how to recreate this right now for our particle snow. So we're going to go back inside our thing. So we go back here. We're going to make a new emitter. And from here in the required, we're going to go and click radial gradient. There we go. Right away, we have our little particle here. Now, the first problem you're going to get to, so let's say I'm going to play with the velocity. So we're going on the Y-axis, I think. So we're going to put this to 850 and put this to 850 also. So we have this. We're going to put this to 450 and minus 150. So that's just to make the particle spawn and go a little bit everywhere. Same thing for this. Put it to 150 and minus 150. Well, actually, you know what? Since the snow normally is meant to go down because of gravity, we're going to put this to 400, minus 400. That way everything's going down. Now you're going to notice one thing. Even if I play with the size over here, it's not going to adjust on the particle. Only the X is going to be part of the size over here, and it's only to get the ball bigger. So if you want to get that little nice flaky particle, just like we did in the example over here, so this kind over here, what you're going to need to do is, well, there's two ways to go about it. Actually, there's only one real way. Inside the require, you're going to need to change the screen alignment to velocity instead of square. And by doing so, it's going to take the angle you're going, and you're going to be able to play with the Y. I don't know if the Z gets updated. No, only the Y gets updated. So just there you can see already that it becomes different. So if I want to get that nice little flake, I'm going to change the max to 15 for the X and put the minimum to 10. Now you can already see that it looks like a needle coming out because this is too much. So let's put this to 50, and right away you get something pretty cool. And if you want to see the effect more right, put this to 300 for the spawn. That way you're going to see there's a lot of flaking going on. But as you can see now, it's pretty much just spraying out there, and it's not really what we want. And not only that, it doesn't go far enough. So how do we remedy to that? We're going to go back on our particle. One thing for the original state, you could add a initial location, But instead of doing this, I prefer to use in the location, I prefer to use sphere. What that does is it makes around the starting point a sphere where everything is going to spawn randomly, and from there it's going to move. And you can see that already it's doing all these random effect, which is exactly what we want. And I'm going to crank this up at 300, and there you go. You got yourself some snow. Mind you, it's basic snow, and to remedy for the fact that it wasn't going far enough, what we're going to do is, because you see right now I'm inside my shot, and nothing is coming through because, well, there's two things. We're going to need an acceleration, which we already have one over here. So if you've been following, you have this one over here. And like I was telling you in the last episode, you can just, or I didn't, but what you can do is you can control, drag a copy over here. And then you have the exact same thing over here. And since the snow is meant to go down, let's put that in. Let's say 150 or 200 to go up, and minus 750, so that way the snow is going to be more meant to go down. And look at what it does. It's already a pretty neat effect just by doing this. What else? We can crank up the lifetime. That way it's going to have the time to get to our shot over here. So what do we have now? There we go. We already have a nice little effect. So if that's what you were really just trying to do, you're pretty much done with the effect. But since I like to give you more to work with, first off, to add this sound effect, I didn't do anything magical. It's right this over here. It's going to be in the description below where you can get it. I just did a ambient sound over here, dragged it in, then went to get my Blizzard, hooked it up in here, and just leave it to autoplay, which is right over here. And as soon as the game starts, you have yourself a Blizzard. And since I didn't put any attenuation around it, it's just going to play all over the scene, and we're good and dandy. So now that we have that, let's say you want your snow to have collision. So inside this over here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to add, there's another one that I forgot to add, which adds a little bit of a nice effect, because you can see right now that everything is pretty much the same thing coming in. And one thing I forgot to add is size by speed. I saw this in another effect I got, and it seems to, no, size by life, no, it's size by speed. There we go. It seems to add a nice little effect. You can see now when they're coming, they're okay, but let's say I want to pump this up a little bit more. You can play with those settings after. I found that 0.5, 0.5 on the speed scale over here. And to leave this at 1 and put this at 2, I find that it makes this nice effect over here. See? It makes this nice like random effect where everything seems like a more intense Blizzard over here. So you can play with all these modules, see if you want to get the effect you'd like to get. And it's only going to be best for what you want and nothing else. Now let's say you want to add collision. So what I like about using this VS using a particle GPU sprite, because that's another way to use it, and I'm going to show you after the difference. When you use the way we're using it over here, first of all, the bounding box, if I wanted to, I could have left it to, well, this you won't see it because initially my bounding box was not static, was not a fixed bounding box. And I had to click on this to get it to be a fixed bounding box. But now I can't seem to see how I would revert to the other one. Nevertheless, it's not important, but if you do use the GPU, make sure that you're going to need to go up here, select on this, and set to fixed box. Because this one over here by original state is going to be updating every tick. So it's going to give you a little message here, a little error, that you need to have a set fixed bounding box even when using a GPU. The other thing that's bad that I don't like about the GPU vs the regular over here emitter is if I change to GPU sprite, I can't have a random acceleration. I'm going to need to have a constant acceleration, so it's always going to be the same speed, which is right now giving me all these random flakes. So that's something you're going to have to be mindful for. And the other thing is the collision is a little bit different. I think it's actually a little bit better width GPU sprite. Whoops, what did I do? I'm gonna go back to this. But I think they work pretty much the same way. They're just a bit different in their way. So let's go for the first type. So using the first collision, if I go over here and I go check collision, I'm gonna have actor collision, which is the only way I'm gonna be able to use this. But what's nice about actor collision is that it doesn't react to every collision. It only acts with the collisions you want them to work with. So what I mean by this is when you click on something, let's say I got this over here, the platform. If you go over here on your default collision, if you click on custom, you're going to be able to see what type of object your object is. And this one is world static. So let's say you have this is a world static and this, let's say, is a world dynamic, which is not the case right now. But if it was, you could make a rule inside your particle system that would allow you to either have collision on both or only on one. And that would be right over here on collision type. You would just add one more and you could choose what else you wanted to collide with. In our case, whoops, sorry, I just want the world static. That's perfect for me right now. And then you choose how it's going to respond. Is it going to kill? Is it going to freeze? Is it going to have collision? These are all trial and errors. You should try them, see which one works for you best. We're going to go through a few within this episode, but I'm not going to go through all of them. And the way it works, if you want, let's say, to get a bounce when it hits, you're going to have to play with the damping factor. So if I put this to 0.5, 0.5, not 5, 0.5, like this. If I do this, then I don't think it's going to work still. It's not going to work. No, doesn't work yet. What else I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go on the max collision and put this to 2. Whoops. And now if I go back inside the scene, I think they're going to start, yeah, you can see that now they start going and bouncing through stuff. It's a little bit silly, but I'm sure if you get to play around with this, you're going to be able to get an effect that you want. Be mindful also that by default, this rock doesn't have collision. So if you want it to have a proper collision, you have to go inside the rock and you can make a, what did I do last time? An autoconvex collision. And just by clicking on here to apply, you're going to see that you're going to have a basic collision around your mesh afterward. And that's it. And if I go back inside the scene, you're going to see that now it has collision. But it's like I said, it's not working really as I would like to, but you need to play around the setting if you want to find like what's good for you. I would probably just leave it to kill and not have it have any collision right now because I think that would be the best for me. So I would probably bring this back to 1 and bring this back to 0. I find this would be better for me. Now you can also play with the rotation on hit and whatnot, but that again, you know, you can see it's still doing it. I think I need, oh, I forgot to put this to 1. And there you go. Everything is back to this. Now, what else do we have here? The rest I didn't play much with, but they could all have different. I always like recommend that you guys try this on your own and try to see what can you guys get with this. And if you find something interesting, leave it in the comment below. Any settings that I missed that I should go over. I'm always open to learn more, so go ahead. Now let's say I wanted to use the GPU sprite instead. I'm gonna go here and the type, I'm going to put it to GPU. So right away the actor collision is no good and the acceleration is no good anymore. The random acceleration I want. So if you didn't want to lose that, what you could do is you could do this over here. Make a copy of this. So because you have all your settings here, right? So you duplicate it, put it to exit out, and here you can do your type data GPU. And now here I'm going to take care of this and this. And now the new setting you're going to have is constant acceleration. So now it gives you a set value. So if let's say I wanted to have it go downward too, or sometimes go upward, well, I won't be able to get the same effect. Now I'm going to have everything go downward, since that's the most important one I wanted. So you can see that if I want to use the GPU, not only do I have to change this, but I will probably have to have another copy of it so that I can have two different like direction when the snowflakes are going. So I would need another one to have one that's going in the upward angle that I had right over here, because I had the acceleration that would go up and then mostly down. So those that would go up would make this random direction effect, which we all want. So that's the first thing I'm not too fond of with the GPU sprite. I think that using GPU sprite in a way, it uses less computer CPU, because it requires your video card to take on the charge. I'm not too sure what the difference is between the GPU and the other one. If I do find out, I'll let you guys know in the comment below. And from here, what you do, the last thing is the collision. So you can see here the collision is a bit different. The way there's a bit more flexibility to it, but it's just the same words done differently. Like you can choose right away, right off the bat, if it's gonna bounce. Thing is though, you can't choose whether it's gonna be only the world static or the world dynamic. You have to choose everything is gonna interact with all the collisions in your game are gonna interact with the collision right here. You can see it's a little bit different. The other one, you had a little bit more flexibility if you didn't want that, but now you have to go with that. The other thing is that this feature, I actually like it. You can choose from 0 to 1, always 1 being the 100%. So what I mean by 0 to 1, the 100% is the lifetime of your particle. So if you go to require, normally your emitter duration is set over here, but it also goes with the lifetime. How long does every particle live? So here you have 2 seconds. Here you have, I think this one is 5 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds. So it's going to take that time, and this is where the collision, this is where the 0 to 1 work. So it's going to make a fraction according to this. So from here, what's nice is you can have, so from here, from 0 to 1, you choose what is the fraction of your particles that are going to interact with the collision. So here you would have 0.75, so 75% of your particles will interact with the floor, leaving the other ones will go through, and they will go all the way down. So that's where it gets a little bit different. You can see also the bouncing is a little bit more harsh. Like everything is bouncing everywhere like a ping pong ball. So I'm not too sure if that's the kind of effect you're looking for, but if it is, well, there you have it. You could easily, I would probably leave it at kill. Then again, if you do that, I think the only way you use the collision for here is, let's say you have a roof underneath and you don't want anything to go underneath. So then after that, you just have to make sure to put the collision preset to 1 so that nothing can go through. And I don't know if it works. Does it work if I do this? See, it doesn't even work so well. That's what I don't really like with the GPU. Again, I'm going to leave it for you guys to figure out what you like. Let's say I get rid of this and I go back to this one. This is my preferred effect. If I go on actor collision, if I set this to 2, like this, and if I set this, if I set these, I leave these to 0, I think nothing goes through. See, that's where it gets better. It works best, I find. Let's say you have a ceiling and it's snowing outside and you want to see the snow from on the other side of the window, but you don't want it to get inside your building. I would prefer to go with this. Now, for the dragging part, that is up to you guys to play with this after. There must be a way to have it die instantly when it touches the floor. Maybe freeze would do better. No. But then again, now you have all the tools. And frankly, I think you got enough material to make yourself a nice blizzard. So hope you like this. Like always, leave a like and subscribe if you like what you see. If not, I will see you in the next episode, which I think I still have a few extra episodes I wanted to do. I started working on season 4, but it's not quite there yet. Take care.